What if Xbox didn't screw up?
What would this generation be like? Hey there.
Hello there.
Welcome to episode 41 of Triangle Squared. I'll be your DJ for the night, Mr. Brett Beck. And alongside me, my co-DJ,
Saw Bridges, bringing you lucky episode 41.
Winner.
Chicken dinner.
Chicken dinner. Speaking of chicken dinner, I'm a little hungry, so not to put a lot of pressure or anything on, but we need to hurry up and finish so I can eat.
We just started. All right,
Hey,
guys.
we just started.
Thank y'all for tuning in to episode 41.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you guys next week.
If you've never listened to us before, we are Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast, and we post every Monday at 10 a.m. PST and 12 p.m. CST.
That's
You like
right.
that, Saul? You like
High
that?
noon.
See, you messed me up last time. I didn't like that.
I didn't mess you up at all. You messed yourself up, sir.
You ruined me.
I'm sorry.
But anyway, you can find us on YouTube, like we said, every Monday, or if you prefer to listen to us in your vehicles or in your headphones or just when you're walking down the street so people can look and be like, why is this guy listening to people? You can find us on SoundCloud or any of the other weird podcast services that exist, because there's a ton I don't know. Besides Spotify, because they're a bunch of...
they're hard to work with.
They're very strict.
I don't want to say something
they're very strict.
potentially hurt us.
Nothing will hurt us, Saul. We're invincible.
That's true.
Okay?
Invincible.
We're invincible. But Saul...
Yes,
Good
sir.
It's been a little bit since we recorded, since we did a little off day podcast recording. So it's been like a week and a half, and I really haven't seen you too terribly much. We've done a little bit of talking. So good, sir. What have you been up to?
I've been real busy with work. For those that follow us on Discord, I've been gushing about Enter the Gungeon. I even did it on Twitter. Super fun game. Great game you could sit down with for a couple minutes and just enjoy. But other than that, the occasional Metroid Samus Returns when I get home and I'm sitting on the couch.
Sure.
And kind of some Grand Theft Auto sprinkled in there just for fun. But that's really it. Not much at all. I've been working on building that new PC and ordering that, and
Has been taking up some of your free time?
working in GIMP. Yeah, and that's not so much taking up my free time, but more of an enjoyment to practice. But
Oh yeah, I was
I've been
talking about
lazy.
the computer, but
Yeah.
no, GIMP's interesting. I mean,
yeah, I just been real lazy, kind of want to do stuff on my couch, so not playing a whole lot.
be good if you had a Vita 2,
a Vita as well, or like a Vita number 2.
like a Vita number 2 to play all those PS4 games that you could have been playing on
That
there.
would be really, really cool.
But you know, those are
Sony is a stick in the mud when it comes to
exactly. Those are
making a
just
new Vita.
those are weird dreams.
They
Okay, well,
are.
good. That doesn't
what about
sound
you
like
though? Because really, this is probably the least eventful week for me gaming wise since we started the podcast.
Oh,
literally, two or three varieties.
You
of
mean
games
like back
here.
when you were playing literally every week? It was like, what you were playing? Dark Souls 3?
No, at least I played a lot of Dark Souls 3 in those weeks.
That is true. That is true.
Now
Okay, well,
I'm playing not much.
I haven't been playing just too terribly much. First thing I did as soon as I got back from out of town this weekend, so that was Monday, me and Ryan hopped on Gran Turismo for me to really finally play that since I had gotten there the day before, but I didn't want to spend too much time in it or anything. So I did a little bit of playing of the driving school things just to get used to driving with a wheel since it's my first time in a while. And I want to say, man, the steering wheel's amazing. I got the Logitech G29, and I got the shifter with it, but I haven't set it up because I don't have a seat that I want to use it with just yet, but I bought it just to go ahead and do it. It's amazing, man. We were playing that game.
I walked in and it was set up.
fun.
And it looked like a really cool setup that would work well. For
It works. It's just it's not going to be good for a shifter because the shifter will be up right beside the steering wheel, which I don't like. But it worked for what we were doing. So me and Ryan were going, and it took me a little bit to get used to playing the game again. It's been a while since I've played that, and I've also been playing Need for Speed. So having to remind myself that you're not always just gunning the throttle. You know, you're not constantly just accelerating. You gotta. You gotta slow down and kind of use those in betweens. You know, I was slamming on the pedal at first and being like, "Oh man, I'm messing up," but I finally got back in the rhythm of it and was getting some good lap times in. But that game is so fun. We got in these little go-kart things I was telling you about.
Yeah,
and dude, they're so fun. They're retarded fast. It's crazy. And man, we were just flying around this track, and it was funny because like I would do so well when we were doing practicing, and he'd have a hard time getting past me. But then as soon as we actually started the race, which like just reloads you in and does it again, once he would get past me, I would just fall apart. I'm telling you, I get way too competitive. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get aggressive here. I'm going to be able to get this spot back. And then I just, instead of staying relaxed. So, yeah, I choked a little bit, but I was doing really well in the practice. So I need to play the game some more. I look forward to playing that some more.
Yeah, it looks like a really
also
cool
need to hop into
setup.
the division. It's just been a weird week. We had people, our group has been moving and people been sick, and we just had a weird time with all that
the
stuff
whole
going
flu
on.
shot scandal thing is really screwing some people up with the.
Well, I mean, it's not a scandal.
Well, yeah,
Sure. Okay, it's a scandal, I guess.
yeah.
I mean, that's just the risk you take when you take a flu shot, is that it's not going to be the right strain because, it's always based off the previous year's strain, right?
Yeah, and this is a completely new year, so it's like 7% effective, I think. Or
We're going to make a new
10%.
show called Saul the Pharmacist, and it's just
Saul
going to be
the
you talking about
Pharmacist.
all the stuff that we should be, like, what flu shots you should be getting from where,
Dude, like,
what over-the-counter medicine.
one of my biggest like pet peeves is when people come in to buy like Robitussin and they're like, yeah, and they're like, they're not sick, and you can tell what they're about to use it for. It's like, come on, dude, you're gonna kill your liver. Like, that's not worth it for like whatever you're doing, like robo tripping or whatever it is. Just stop.
Robo tripping.
That's what
I'm
people call
I'm
it.
so out of the loop on that stuff. Anyway, outside of Gran Turismo, which I do look forward to getting back into, I have been playing what I've gushed about all over. I mean, the Discord I've been doing on Twitter. It's Sundered by Thunder Lotus Games, and it's one of those weird Unity games where it couldn't have been on Vita, even though I think it would be a perfect example of like a great game for Vita. Besides a couple of moments where they pull the camera way too far back, so far back that even when I'm right up against the TV on PS4, I'm like, I don't know where the hell I'm at. It's only done it like once, but it bothered me, and so. Of all the things, that game's amazing. It's got a beautiful hand-drawn art style. The combat is fun. The levels that you come across that are hand-designed, and you can tell they're hand-designed, are amazing. A couple of the in-between moments when the underground caverns are procedurally generated.
Yeah.
That way when you die and you come back through, you don't quite know your area because it changes everything. Which is an interesting, like... It gives you incentive not to die or not to go back to the sanctuary to level up. It kind of gives you you want to grind and stay in the area so that you're familiar with everything.
Right.
But major areas still stay in the same place. So like your map structure is the same, but when you get inside of the giant square, the room structure of how you get through that giant square is going to change. So that one's interesting, but I do like that. The combat's really fun, and there's a couple of areas you can go into that have like endless hordes. So literally the entire time you're in the area, monsters do not relent. You're going to be facing monsters the entire time.
And is it like a hack and slash game or what?
It's a Metroidvania. Is really the way to go off of.
Is it a melee Metroidvania, or is it a?
There's projectiles in it, but it's mainly melee focused.
Okay, that's my jam.
And it's pretty interesting. It has a humongous. And not a skill tree, but an upgrade tree where you're like, because the way the game works is it kind of takes the idea of having a shield, and your shield is separate from your health. Your shield regenerates itself over time, and you can upgrade how quickly it brings that back, but then your health does not come back, so you have to have health elixirs. And then there's perks. So you can have up to 3 perk slots, and then there's also a thing you can do within your thing that gives you a 4th perk slot. And their perks normally have an advantage and a disadvantage, and the disadvantage is always outweighed by the advantage, so it's still good to use it as long as it supports your playstyle. So like I have one where health elixirs drop 50% less of the time, or actually it's level 2, so 75% less of the time. But every enemy I kill, I get 2% of my overall max health back.
That's really cool.
So that works for me because as long as I stay relatively aggressive, I get that back. And then I have one that doesn't have a disadvantage. Just the advantage is just that you get, I think the enemies drop 20% more shards.
Which
or whatever, and the shards
right?
is like basically it's your currency to use to level up.
Yeah.
So the game does some kind of weird stuff, like you're walking through the desert, you fall in. That's like very loose. I don't want to spoil it, even though it's not much of a. It's a very mechanically driven game, but there is cool story stuff. So on a light thing, as you kill bosses, you get these shards, and they're pieces of Elder Shards. You get 3 of them. It makes an Elder Shard. And with the Elder Shard, you can go to the ability shrine where you get an ability at first. So like as you go through the game and you keep going through the areas, you'll get new abilities. And it's Metroidvania, so it's non-linear. You can
Did
get
you start with those abilities?
No.
Oh, okay.
You get the abilities as you go through.
Super Metroidvania.
Yeah.
You did.
No, you get the abilities as you go through. You find an ability shrine, you get that ability, and if you go back to that shrine with an Elder Shard, then it'll upgrade that ability.
Okay.
But you get something great for that, obviously. You get a cool demonic power, but it makes Esh, which is the protagonist, even more demonic.
What was that protagonist's name?
Esh. E-S-H-E.
Interesting.
And so the pull of the story is that there's 3 different endings. There's an ending to where you can go and you can upgrade your abilities with the Elder Shards, or you can go to this incinerator, which is in this area of, I can't remember the name of the people right now. It's something with a V. But you can go to an incinerator and destroy it, and you get a lot of shards, the normal shards, and you also unlock like new paths and other stuff. But the way it works out is that ending, if you destroy all the shards, is one way. There's an ending for if you mix and match and destroy some shards and then activate some shards, and then there's one if you take every shard, including some hidden ones, and you put them in. So the endings change.
Interesting. So there's 3 potential endings.
Yeah, and I like
really
that
cool.
because I like the story reason as to why there's different endings, because it's not like it's a little different than Infamous where you make a binary decision. You don't really know if one of these is bad or not. You know what I mean? You're just kind of rolling with what you think is right. Now, I will say this. One of the things that happened in the game that just destroyed me is that I was trying to destroy all of them, right? That was before I even knew that was going to change the ending. I looked it up because I accidentally messed up, and I was like, oh crap, it changes the ending, which is cool in the long run. But I was going through, and I accidentally passed by I can't remember what I was doing. I was jumping around an area that had an ability shrine at it, and I accidentally activated it. I don't know how. I don't feel like I did anything other than just jump by it, and it spent the thing and upgraded it. And it wasn't even the one I wanted to upgrade.
Oh, no.
If I wanted to upgrade one, I would have done a different one.
Right.
But I didn't get to go to the incinerator. I turned it off real quick, but the game uses autosave.
Almost all the time. And
Not all the time, but
generously
generously enough. And then when you do stuff like that. So it killed me because I was like, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to destroy it. So that sucks.
That is crazy.
But that's about the only negatives I have about the game. I mean, literally, it's a game that it's almost like Terraria for me. I cannot quit playing it.
You said it earlier about how sometimes it zooms out, and then you said Terraria. Apparently, with the new update, you can't use the touchpad to zoom in and out anymore. It's locked, which sucks for me at least. I like zooming in a little bit.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, that may be fixed. That may be fixed now, but
was it an accident, or did they say it was purposeful?
I don't know. But I think it might be because when you fight like the Moon Lord, you have to have the screen real estate.
Sure.
Not too sure.
But normally when you fought a boss like that, it didn't pull the camera.
No, I was gonna say it kept it. So like,
well, they should give you the option. I wonder if it's that people don't know that the option's even there.
Well, no, because I think that the thread I was reading in, somebody.
I don't know that the game tells you that you can do that though. At least from a tutorial standpoint, I don't think it ever talks about it.
But I think that people who have played the game, who would be the ones to notice the update, is what it affects.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I wonder if it was for people who didn't realize that you could pull out or in as you need to.
Oh, so people may have been playing it this entire time normal,
or
how it's
or whatever.
Now.
Yeah, but I don't know. I like zooming in a little bit myself.
Yeah, I do too.
It just depended on what I was playing, or I like zooming out sometimes because you could zoom out too.
Yeah, I liked a little bit close to my character to see how cool it looked.
I like the ability to change it depending on where you were. Yeah.
Because
like when you're down in like the catacombs, you kind of want to zoom out so you can see a little bit more, so that you don't accidentally land on something and screw yourself up. But I don't know, man. There needs to be another Terraria soon.
Yeah,
they had to restart development on that Terraria Dark World or whatever it was going to be called. I don't know if you remember about that.
So, with this, you press zoom by pressing options, then L2 R2. To zoom in or out. So they changed it so people who had it fixed thought it was different.
I don't like that though, because
options, and then
now that means you have to do it by pausing it. But what if you're playing online with people, it doesn't pause.
So it continues.
So what
playing.
happens now? Instead of you being able to real time do it, that
is kind of a weird hindrance. But I mean, once normally I get it in a set mode, I'm like, sure. I'm good with that for now.
Anyway, besides that, I haven't played much. That was a long segment, longer than normal. So sorry if you don't like Sundered or if you don't care about my thoughts on Sundered. But I assume that you're probably not listening if you didn't care about my thoughts. So
yeah,
or at least I hope. So
you're a big old meanie if you don't.
Big old meanie.
Or if you do, don't care about his thoughts.
Anyway, so I guess move on to the drop.
Sure
Man, it's been a while since we had a normally structured episode. So hey,
it's
the drop.
Yeah, it's super short. We have the Count Lucanor for PS Vita digital title, Energy Invasion for PS4 and PS Vita, Happy Drummer for PS4. Little Red Lie for PS4 and PS Vita, Planet Base for PS4, Plox Neon for PS4, Sword of Fortress, the Omnizium? Sword of Fortress.
The Onamuzum?
The Onamuzum, or Onamuzum. I don't know. That's a super weird name because it's Sword of Fortress, then but it's not. There's no colon. There's nothing. It's just
it's
one
not
word.
even like a sub name or anything.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is, and it's just because of the picture, it makes me think it is. The format on the blog.us PlayStation makes me think not.
Is this another one of those Life of Black Tiger quality?
Oh
games?
Man, I hope not. It looks like it. It actually really looks.
That's the
like
last
it.
one.
Yeah,
Okay,
it is.
cool.
So yeah, super short, super sweet. Some cool Vita games on there this week. I want to say cool Vita games. Some Vita games.
Some Vita
on there.
games. Hey, so look,
Yeah.
like I told somebody the other day, there's still game releases almost every week, except for holidays, which there's not a lot of game releases anyway.
Well, yeah. Hence the very stale drop.
Well, speaking of very short, Saul, I also didn't have a lot of time to do news, so I kind of just hit a couple of big things that we liked. Sorry, guys, I was doing a lot of construction, which is probably the way I
got here. He was doing construction.
I'm a construction man.
I can verify that.
Houses fall apart sometimes, and you
They
got to fix
do.
them.
Sometimes the floor base of your entire living room collapses into a big old chasm, and it's just a bad day.
Did you see about that happening in Texas?
I sure did.
At a college party, they were jumping up at one of the dorms, and the entire floor caved in.
I was completely making that up, but that's crazy that a recent event.
Yeah, they were jumping around, listening to music, and bam. Pretty funny. Anyway, first thing is Insomniac posted on Twitter that they are having a studio-wide playtest of Spider-Man for PS4, and there was another article that showed that the lead designer has played through it 3 times, and each playthrough has taken multiple days, which is a little bit of a weird thing because you assume, so is he literally coming to work and the entire time he's there, let's just say 8 to 10 hours a day he's playing that game? So multiple days, let's just say that's 3.
Right.
So that's 30 hours?
Right.
But don't get me wrong, that's still good.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
course,
like, it's a somewhat vague statement.
It is. And I wonder if it was intentionally vague. I'm almost sure it is.
Oh, I'm almost sure it is,
yeah.
too. Oh, look, Saul, you did not get that anywhere close.
I told you I
didn't.
didn't.
Oops.
Our audio listeners, I'm sorry, I messed up the centerpiece, so he's fixing it. I told him I didn't. I can't center.
See,
things.
but look, I'm one of those people. It's my problem. Let me deal with it.
Okay, there you go. No. All right, sorry guys, you're listening. I threw it out of balance again.
You
but
betrayed
yeah, I mean, it's good that it's at least 20 to 30 hours long.
Which I mean is about what you expect from an open world game, right?
I think that's a decent length.
Also, is he doing intentionally vague on this part? Is he doing side quests? Are there side quests? It's open world. Very highly likely there would be.
Are there different endings?
Yeah. Again, who knows?
I'm curious about that. He's replaying it, so he may be bug testing. He may be playtesting a certain style that works. He may be, getting all the endings. Who knows? That'll be sick if there's a Spider-Man game with multiple endings.
That would be kind of interesting because it would feel a lot more like Infamous, which is not to say anything because now we see Ghost of Tsushima, which does look cool, and I think it's probably a change of pace that they needed. But I really did like the idea back when this was rumored that Sucker Punch was going to be making a Spider-Man game. That just sounded awesome to me. I was they have the pedigree to do it, which I do agree that Insomniac does have the pedigree to do it. Definitely,
of course, yeah.
I bought Sunset Overdrive. It's okay.
Yeah, I never got to play it.
It is not perfect to me. I liked it, but I did get bored of it. So that's a lot of people were saying, like, well, that's the kind of reason that they went that way. But it was, who knows? It was a weird decision. But
I might pick that game up when it goes on sale.
Sunset Overdrive?
Yeah, just for
Is it on what? Do you have an Xbox?
No, I'm pretty sure it's a PC game.
I don't think so.
Oh, is it really not?
It was an early Xbox game where none of them were. That's a later decision. So yeah, I don't think that you'll be able to play it.
Oh, well, that sucks. Not really, but
I mean, look it up. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly positive it's not on anything else. So the next thing in news is actually good because I love the game and I want to play more of it from the beta. Capcom have announced a third and final beta for Monster Hunter World. It includes the same 3 missions from the previous betas, as well as a new mission to face the Elder Dragon Nergigante. I could be saying that completely wrong. So, but I don't know how else you'd say it. Nergigant? Nergant? I don't know. Who is featured on the cover art? He's a big crazy dragon dude. He was pretty cool. He was big on display at the booth they had at PSX. It was really cool. And we have some cool pictures of that. And some B-roll of that too. It was really awesome. And his eyes glowed. It was really crazy.
It was fun with Ryan and John.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm
excited for this one too.
I love that aspect of it. The beta will run from January 18th through the 21st, with the game releasing shortly after on the 26th. So that's good.
Of January?
Yeah. I mean, it's coming right around the corner.
I go on well, it's going to be kind of a closed vacation after that, but I'm actually on vacation for like February 2nd.
Okay,
so
cool.
That's actually going to be really interesting.
I can't be on vacation,
know if I can play it.
But maybe we can play a little bit of it. Next thing up, after many rumors, Burnout Paradise HD has been announced for a Japanese release. It is priced at 4,100 yen, which is about $40 if they were to price it over here. It's really $36 by conversion ratio, but still, so you'd expect a $40 release if they came over here, and has a release date of March 16th. Like we said, no word on it coming west just yet, but it seems highly likely with a franchise like that.
Of course.
I don't think there's any reason that it would not come over here. It is weird that the announcement comes to Japan first.
It does. Like
That's
it
odd.
is. That is very weird. But those games, especially Paradise, Burnout 3 and Paradise were really good games.
Well, and I can't remember what was the name of the people who make those games. Criterion.
Yeah.
Criterion were great, and I feel like they've just been MIA.
Yeah,
It's funny. They took over the mantle for Need for Speed before Ghost Games got it, which is who has it now. They took over the mantle for Need for Speed back with like Hot Pursuit 2, something like that.
Goodness.
And they were the developers of Most Wanted, which was that reboot.
Okay. I was gonna say the original Most Wanted.
Nah, it was
okay.
the reboot. But also props to them. Just I like to mention this every time I talk about that game. When that game got ported to Vita, it is one of the prettiest Vita ports I've ever seen. When it got ported to Vita, instead of passing it off to another studio, Criterion did the port themselves.
I will say I think it's Underground Rivals. But there's
that PSP game?
Yeah, that
game was so hot, boy.
And it looks great.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure it is.
Well, don't wrong. It looked great back then. It was, but the last
now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't wrong. It looked good back then.
Yeah, Underground Rivals was a very good
best racing game on PSP though was
there's a Burnout game on PSP, wasn't there?
There's plenty of them, but the best PSP racing game in my opinion was Midnight Club Los Angeles Remix.
Never played a Midnight Club
Remix.
game.
It was really, really good. It had all the customization crap you could want, and a small chunk of the actual LA game that they did for PS3, which is also one of my favorite racing games. Very good. Next up and last on my list, since we're just
soundtrack for Need for Speed Rivals was really good too.
It was. All the soundtracks for those older Need for Speed Underground games are great. Fumito Ueda, the great developer behind, or developer, the mind, I guess is the better way to say it.
The
creator of Team Ico back originally. So Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and then, of course, The Last Guardian. Excuse me. Has teased his game, or likely teased his newest game. He shared a picture of a very dimly lit area, only brightened by what looks to be a woman sitting on an altar with like a beam coming down on her, and a strange creature down the stairs from her. And you didn't get to see all of the creature. It's like a little bit of the creature.
I didn't even realize it was there until you said it.
Yeah,
either,
and it's really crazy looking.
Like 3 times.
So it's weird because like me and Saul were talking about, it almost looks like the same setup. To be fair, a lot of his games have kind of hit this little weird area, but it looks so
like
similar
the altar from Shadow.
From the altar to Shadow. But why would it be Shrouded in Darkness? Because that altar is right outside. Like it's a tunnel through like a, it's technically outside.
Yeah. There's definitely sunlight in that area.
So I don't know. It's very odd. But I like the idea regardless, even if it's just a spiritual successor to that idea. I think that would be cool. If it's just another one of his games that kind of uses that, because there is a very obvious through line even between Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian, with the Shadow of the Colossus being probably the outlier in terms of the most different.
Yeah. And probably the most popular.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even though The Last Guardian, I mean, literally a phenomenal game. There have been a lot of people that crapped on that game for a number of reasons, said it played like a PS2 game, it looked like a PS2 game. I disagree. I think the art style was very pretty. And it did exactly what Zelda, I kept saying but Breath of the Wild was trying to do, which is make it more memorable by giving it an interesting art style instead of focusing on it being hyper realistic. But there's also a lot to be said that the game also looked hyper realistic in moments. So it was like the character, definitely like the little kid you played as,
right?
He was like very saturated with colors, but then you look at Trico,
it's just bland.
And
not bland.
Not bland, but realistic.
Yeah,
And it was weird because odd juxtaposition that they chose to do.
Yeah.
But I think it really worked out well. It was very pretty. That game is beautiful. Really, you look at that creature, like seeing his feathers the way they were, like very individually given out, and then how they moved, and like I'm telling you that game is a gem. And I feel like more people should have played it, but But it's one of those things where it got hyped up for a long time. A lot of people just didn't want to play it because it was it fell victim to its own hype and its own elongated development cycle. It was probably doomed to realistically fail, but I wonder if Sony viewed it as a failure or not. You almost imagine that it had to.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Because with a development cycle that long,
and it didn't blow up like I was anticipating for it to do.
I
need to play back. I need to go back and play it now that I have a new PS4 that will run it better.
Well, yeah, and I wonder if they've even just patched the game, because that was unfortunate to hear that it was just crashing on you. But
just constant, like same exact spot, same exact placement. We do have some reader mail.
Got some reader mail, yep.
Some really good questions. Alabama Gamers tweeted us at Triangle SQRD on Twitter. He said he got Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 remix for Christmas. I know Brett is a big fan. I am too, by the way. Never played any Kingdom Hearts games or Final Fantasy games before, but I was going to shelve it, but decided to give it a go as JRPGs 101. Any suggestions, tips, thoughts? Good intro as a first JRPG and RPG? Yeah.
Okay,
actually.
I do think it's a great intro to RPG, but also be very mindful of the fact that JRPG, sorry. But 1 is an older game. I love the game, and it is the better game to me.
Slog.
And really, when I play them, it's not really that it's a slog. It's harder than 2 is. It's a little less fluid than 2. Now, it's a lot better in 1.5. They moved the camera used to be originally on R2 and L2 on PS2.
Ugh.
Moving that to the analog stick, they didn't change the way the camera worked, but moving it to that still feels better. It looks a little wonky in comparison to the later games where they made the camera in mind with it to be on the analog stick, but it's still...
It's a good game, like no doubt.
It is a fantastic game. It is a great game to get you used to the idea of some of the things you'll see in JRPGs, which is like the way they choose to characterize people,
the quirky
quirkiness of some
charms
things
that the games have.
And I do say that while it's a good, I'm not trying to downplay the game. The game is very unique still. The way that they kind of do the anime style characters to like go alongside these cartoony characters.
Oh yeah,
and the way that they interact with each other is really good. So I mean, it's a very special game, but I do think it's a good get you into JRPGs. It does depend on what you kind of like about JRPGs. One of the great things about Kingdom Hearts is for a lot of people, it's a little easier to go into the idea of a JRPG or a new genre when it's action-based and you're not having to sit there and overthink, which is something that
a lot of
it's a little bit
do.
Turn-based JRPGs are a little slower in getting used to. So this is a good way to step in. In terms of suggestions, tips, thoughts,
keep going.
Play them in order.
Yeah,
and when I say that,
don't follow an online guide that says play them in story order. Do not do that. Do not do that.
It's going to sound weird. And if you really want my order of playable games, it's going to be play 1. I want to tell people Birth by Sleep first. It's just really hard to want to do that because Birth by Sleep is mechanically so different that you don't want to play it first because 1 is just different, and there's a chance that you will not want to play 1 after feeling what the newer games feel like. While I do think 1's fantastic, it's just you may get too used to the idea of the newer mechanics. It's better to give yourself the option of kind of easing into the changes. So I'd say do 1. If you care about the story enough by the time that 1 ends, I think Chain of Memories is fantastic, but it is different. It's still real time, but it uses a card-based system, and you have to combine cards to like create a move. So it's a little different, but it's a fantastic game, and it really has an interesting story that is, I would say, somewhat necessary.
Yeah.
And then play 2, and then play Birth by Sleep, then play of the playable games on 1.5 and 2.5. What's the next playable game?
Dream Drop Distance.
Dream Drop Distance is on 2.8.
That's right.
Okay, so of the 4 games you have that are going to be playable,
I forgot.
1, 2, Birth by 1, Chain of Memories, 2, and Birth by Sleep. Just because I think it's the best way since you've not normally played JRPGs. As for tips, don't be afraid in the first game to grind when necessary. It is a hard game, like I said.
Very hard.
And sometimes just spending a little extra time in certain areas really helps. You can level pretty easily in the Tarzan area, which is Jungle Top or whatever.
That's like the second.
Can actually remember. It's a very early game, though. It's a good spot for you to kind of stay and level at. Another one is when you get to the Nightmare Before Christmas world. And don't give up because the beginning of the game is a little odd.
It is.
You spend the whole beginning of the game on an island and you're gatherings, but it makes sense with the idea of the story for the kids.
And there is a massive, massive difficulty jump when you get to the first world, which is Alice in Wonderland. There's something about that. I don't know if it feels.
I don't feel it anymore because you know I'm playing the game on hard.
Yeah.
But I've played the game so many times that
maybe
it's hard for me to remember.
Yeah, it's a first timer. Alice in Wonderland. The rest of the game is not that hard. That for whatever reason, when the last time I played it and the first time I played it was ridiculously challenging for what it was.
Yeah.
For it to be the first world. And if you see Sephiroth in a Coliseum, don't go there. not you don't.
Yeah, you don't see that until a really late game anyway. Anyway, my last thought on that is just have fun because you have a fantastic set of games, and I hope that this gets you excited for 3 and also 2.8. If you like these games, definitely pick up 2.8, play Dream Drop Distance.
Yes.
Some people will say not to. Just play it. It's
no.
it's fun,
If
and while the story could have been shrunk, it is important for me to say that the bits of story that are very important are very important.
Imperative. You can't. If you will be missing a lot of story information if you don't play Dream Drop.
Yeah, there's stuff in Dream Drop that, again, like I said, it's an elongated story, a little unnecessarily elongated, but it is really cool.
Yeah.
And as a payoff, as you continue to play these games, you're gonna be like, oh man, that was super awesome.
Yep.
And then of course play 0.2 Birth by Sleep, which is the newest game
and
made on Unreal
movie.
Engine 4, and watch the movie. So yeah, just. Again, don't feel like you owe anything. If you got it for free anyway, technically you said you got it for Christmas. If you're not feeling it, just put it down. But I mean, give it at the same time. It's not a normal game. Don't put it down 5 hours in because 5 hours in versus 15 hours in is drastically different.
And if you don't like the game 20 hours in because of the story of the characters, just go ahead and do yourself a favor and drop it because you're not going to like it at all because everything, the themes,
I will say beat the first game because
I guess you could,
the last few
hours
well, it depends on, but that game's normally about 24 hours for a lot of people. So again,
I guess so.
The stuff at the very end of the game is probably some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen in gaming still to this day. It's got a lot of cool story stuff that goes on. It got a lot of cool imagery and stuff, and it's still honestly a good designed game. Like, it's just still a really well-made game.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised. There's a couple of things you're like, man, I'm surprised they were able to hit that quality on PS2.
I'll certainly recommend those games to anybody. But I will say that by the first game, if you beat it and you don't like it, don't even waste your time because you're not going to like the rest of the series. But our next question up is No Fate, Mr. Sean Neo. If mouse and keyboard is such a big part of PC gaming, why don't consoles support it too?
Well, I think that the answer is kind of in the question. It's a big part of PC gaming. The whole point of console gaming is that it's supposed to be easy. And while we've somewhat moved away from it, consoles are still more plug and play than computers will ever be.
Yep.
Even if they're doing some different things where there's updates for games and updates for the console, it's still very easy. And most of the time the system prompts you to update it and then does everything for you and just turns itself off. You don't have to do a bunch of decisions, and when the games update, they just tell you they got to update, and you hit yes. It's really easy, and you don't have to worry about drivers and weird stuff like that. So the plug-and-play nature is really important for a lot of console people because another one of the things is that a lot of people who do like to game but don't have a lot of time do like to do so on consoles for that exact reason. You just turn it on and kind of just roll with it.
It's much better to get used to a controller. I will say, though, that with my current PC and my new PC that I'm about to get, I order and part out and build, keyboard mouse is what I will play with. Like 99% of the games.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with keyboard and mouse. I mean, don't get me wrong, my preferred input is a controller because carpal tunnel reasons. I work on a computer all day. I don't want to do it when I'm trying to game.
That's very true. And I don't. So like I can understand not wanting to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's keyboard. Just like literally when we were playing Diablo 3 when it launched on PC with Blaze, my wrist killed.
Yeah.
I hated it. Game's super fun, but it doesn't matter when it was painful for me to play it.
Yeah.
I much prefer that game because you had to click to move and stuff too, which is really dumb.
Like League of Legends.
I much prefer this game on an analog stick where your movement is mapped to an analog stick. I don't know why controller support doesn't exist in the PC version. Different story though.
But I will say that I don't necessarily prefer keyboard mouse, but it is super fun to use because it's different. It's such a drastic change from a controller. Like if I'm going to play, I don't know. I mean, given any thought, like Wolfenstein 2 on PC. I'm like, it's gonna be fun because it's gonna be me using a keyboard and mouse because it's gonna be so different than a controller. But I think mainly it's because it's not to insult the controller by any means or anything, but it's more casual to pick up and be able to use than a keyboard and mouse. Less buttons, less key bindings.
It is, and the less buttons, like I say, is to the detriment sometimes. Games do bad context sensitivity where they'll map two things that you'll do often on the same button, and you'll end up doing the thing you don't mean to do. That happens. It's just it's a thing.
I will say that a lot of PC owners and gamers will recommend you to pick up a DualShock 4 or Xbox One Elite controller because DS for Windows is great.
Oh, it's amazing.
The Microsoft utility is just plug and play with any Xbox controller, which is kind of pretty much that now with DS for Windows. I think Windows 10 is even updated to where it's plug and play now with PS4. You don't need DS4 Windows.
I don't know, but I like DS4 in Windows anyway because it lets your touchpad be a mouse.
Yeah, that's
I love
true
that
too.
All right, Next question. Let's see. Mr. Steve Bitto
Yes, sir.
says, how long should VR generations be? I suspect technology will progress faster than people are willing to invest in new headsets. I like that he went that way because that's kind of what I was thinking as soon as I read the first sentence. He says, additionally, if the headsets don't launch at the start of the generation, what is the backwards compatibility expectations?
So I would hope they would expand. I don't know VR technology that well.
I mean, and here's the thing about it. It's
so different.
Technology is one thing, and I do think the technology is progressing fine. What I think you're going to see is that because as a medium as a consumer medium, it's still so young, people buy in, and it's such a high cost of investment, like to get into this, that you're going to see people not wanting to spend $350 on PSVR in this particular situation. That's just where I'm going with it. Just to have 2 years later a much better one come out and then have to spend $400 on it again. Because what will happen is that when they come out with this new one, people are inevitably going to feel like they just bought one. I mean, and you see this with the PS4 Pro too. But you're going to inevitably have people that feel like they just bought something that's going to be technically useless. Now, even if it's backwards compatible, because it is a glorified peripheral, right? It does base off of what system you're running, and then the system just runs it through. You're still playing PS4 games, even if they are PSVR games. They are still PS4 games. They're architectured for PSVR. They're just designed, for PS4, but they're designed with VR in mind, which makes them a VR game. I consider that to be a big deal.
Didn't know that actually. I was just not thinking that over. I did not realize that they are. Well, I understand that they're PS4 games.
Yeah,
so
but they can't. You got to think about this. While the PS4 can't just natively play them, that's because the games that are VR only have been designed to play through two different displays.
Oh no, yeah, I know
together.
that. So my question is that if they make a PSVR 2 and a PlayStation 5, I don't guess that there would be, unless supported a backwards compatibility, you wouldn't be able to play the PSVR 2 on your PS4.
Well, again, there's no reason that you couldn't be able to play the PSVR 2 on there because it's just a peripheral. All you're doing is hook it up, and it gives you a better resolution and blah 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 on your screen.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But it is also what they're pushing power wise. It could just be that the headset still works, but you don't get all the benefits.
Right.
Because the PS4 can only push so much resolution anyway.
Yeah, and
so going to the PS5, they can jump that resolution up. They can put better OLED displays in there. They can do better tracking or whatever. And I think that's probably what you're going to see. Is he's talking about technology. I think the first step you're going to see away from PSVRs with PSVR 2 is going to be a setup that probably doesn't even require the camera.
Oh no, I think I disagree with that.
Well, again, it depends.
The way the Vive works so well with those cameras that they uses.
But when I say camera setup, I mean the Move technology. Thank you for saying that because I do need to clarify.
Okay,
I don't think it'll be tracked by lighting. I think it will be. I think it'll be normal visuals, normal cameras that
Yeah.
I think that the Vive does work well with that. You see the same thing with the little weird thing that the Rift has. The little, I don't know if they're cameras or what, but they're very similar.
Actually, I may be thinking about the Rift cameras, the ones that are actually standalone in the room.
Yeah, I think they both use it.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong on that, but the technology is going to go in a bunch of weird ways. There's no way to see because right now you're kind of seeing the VR and AR battling it out. I do think VR will be the victor, in my own opinion, from seeing what they are. I think it's much cooler to put something on and you're just in a completely different world.
Have you seen VR Chat?
No.
That needs to come to PS4. It's a game where you basically can choose a character avatar, and there's millions. There's thousands, really, probably. You could choose a character from anything you ever wanted. I've seen Shrek walk around in there, and I've seen Sonic. I've seen all kinds of things. And you have your username above your head, and it's essentially you're put into this server that's a chat room. Except you go around talking to people, and there's props and stuff you can pick up and mess around with people. And it's for the Vive. I hope it comes to PS4, but it's for Vive and
well, some of the issues come from the fact that the motion sensing stuff is just not as good. You can't do 360 stuff because you can't put two cameras that lets see both sides. There's reasons that when they move games over, they don't work as well. But that is an interesting idea.
I'll have to show you a video.
Going back to the question though, backwards compatibility is a weird thing. I think that the headsets themselves may be backwards compatible. Because technically, you got to think you can plug a Wii U or a Switch or anything into the headset, and it'll just play like it's a TV screen.
So yeah, I don't know much about VR technology, so I'm going to assume that it.
Yeah, you don't have one. That's
I know
one
it's rapidly growing, so I do know that around the time PS5 comes out, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a PSVR 2.
Yeah,
of
and
some
even
sort.
though that the PSVR sold extremely well, with everything
Very well.
combined, it's still a very small market right now. So that market's got to continue to grow before you see a big jump or big changes in terms of generational jumps.
Yeah.
I don't think that you'll see another generation of PSVR until PS5.
And I mean, even
That
then,
makes the most sense. You may see these small incremental upgrades, not like power incremental, but like they're doing so far, where they have the
Quality
new
of life
PSVR that has like the headset thing built in. It's a little bit lighter and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think you'll see that, but it's hard to say real VR generations because I think that you'll see Rift and Vive go for a long time. So the generation's going to be more on the console side, since the Rift and Vive are basically tied to PC. They're not going to be a generation, just like PCs don't have generations. So if you see PSVR's next generation, which
it'll
will
be
need to
Gen
jump,
2 of VR.
it will most likely
But Gen
be
8?
with PS5, I think.
What gen are we in now? 7?
No. We're in Gen 7 was last year. Last gen, I think. I think we're in Gen 8
Okay, so
right
we're
now.
in Gen 8. Okay.
But
so it'll be
regardless-
Gen 9 hardware.
Well,
is
technically,
what-
we're in Gen 9 because the Switch is what determines. Nintendo has almost always set the standard of when the generation starts.
Oh, that's super weird.
Yep.
We have another question for Richard Rivero, but Rivero.
It's going to tie into something
It's
a
going
little
to
bit
tie into
bigger.
the topic. He does say, here's one. What do you guys think about what happened at the start of this gen with the Xbox One, and could be ahead of the PS4 if they didn't have any of the controversies, such as the DRM and the price and the used games and so on. So we're going to tie that in because of some other things that has to do with that question. So we're going to get to that, Richard. Thank you for inspiring and being part of inspiring that topic.
Actually, yeah, that is a good topic.
It
When I read
is.
that question earlier, it's one of the few I actually saw early on because I was working on the floor. And I was
Yeah.
like, man, that's a really good question.
And I had that in the back of my head like a retrospect, which we've somewhat done, but it's,
and we've
it's gonna be a
talked
little
about it.
different.
But yeah.
Our last question, though, comes from Sean Sanderud, and he says, which side character from a game would you like to see in their own game? Going all the way back to Alabama Gamers, I'd like to see a Riku Kingdom Hearts game. I think it'd be super cool.
Okay.
Riku-
Technically, you do play as Riku
No, I know.
in a
In
couple
Dream
of
Drop.
games. But
Well,
it would be
that's
weird.
not a spoiler, is it?
I
You
would-
play half the game as Riku?
No, that's
I don't
not a
think so.
spoiler.
Okay.
Technically, you can play as Riku in Chain of Memories. He has his own completely different. It's replica of Riku.
Yeah, well, spoilers there.
Again, the game tells you that. It's
right
not
at the beginning?
pretty. Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, nothing major here. No big plot twist in any way. But yeah, I think Riku would be really cool to have a storyline. I mean, obviously, you can't do much backstory on a guy like that. You kind of pretty much know everything that they've.
Yeah,
come
I
from,
don't know.
but
That would be interesting. I'm really
a
trying to
side
think about this,
story.
like a good side story, because I mean,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, you kind of see it. Because I actually think that of some of the people from like Uncharted, I thought Chloe would make a great game to have her own story, and they did that, and I thought it was really good. So I mean, I think that that's a pretty good answer. I'm really trying to think back to more because it's weird. It's a weird question to think because a lot of the games that have characters I'd like to see them, you get to play as them anyway. I'm trying to think of a
That's
game that has
true.
characters that you don't get to play them at all, but they're really good characters. And
What game do you play in as Axel? Is that the 350?
you don't play as Axel in any game.
Okay, well there you go, Axel.
An Axel side game?
I thought you do play as Axel in 358/2.
No,
That's
he
the
can
one
be
I
in your
haven't-
party.
That might be what I'm thinking of. That's the one I haven't played, but like 30 minutes of.
Yeah, he can be in your party. That game's odd, but
It is a very odd game.
cool game too.
Yeah, not odd doesn't mean bad. I'm an odd person. But so yeah, Riku for me for sure. I would say another character in a game that I recently played and beat, but I'm not going to spoil that in any sense of a way. I think you already know what game I'm talking about, in which a certain character shines in a second or third playthrough. Yeah, so I'm not going to say anything
Well,
about
you've
that.
technically already said that, but in the Game of the Year episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that would be interesting, but I think that that's a weird thing. So I guess what I'll go is that, yeah, I think being able to play, and it's weird because I feel like that in a way
It
exists because
doesn't
of
make
characters,
sense.
but I think a near game with Kaine would have been really cool. But going back a little more, I think for mechanical reasons, and it's funny because it ties into Nier Automata as well. I think a Bentley game from the Sly Cooper series would have been really fun.
Bentley's a turtle, isn't
Bentley's a turtle who's
Yeah.
like real tech savvy.
Yeah, that would
And
be actually
I
really
think
cool.
that would be weird because like I love the parts of those games where you get to do the hacking mini games, which is just makes me think of the hacking mini games in Automata.
he? Yeah.
And I love that. I think that that's a really cool mechanic for combat. And again, how do you play Bentley into that story? Who knows? But I think there's a lot of cool stuff because you do get to play as Bentley in 3. There's like you do missions as Bentley or Murray, and there's a couple people. And while I like that idea, I think a whole game where there's no focus around the idea of you playing as Sly. would be really interesting. So I'm going to go with that one. I think that's really it, but I also do think that there's a lot to be said about a Kaine-based Nier game. That would be cool.
The more we talk about the slide, the more I keep thinking about this flying mini game. What game was that? Where you're like flying through the rings at the end? Is that 2? There are rings in the sky that you have to fly through, and it's a night sky?
I don't feel like that's 2. I'm trying to remember because 1 had a couple of weird mini games, but that sounds like the Black Baron from 3.
No, 3 is a PS3 game, isn't it?
No, 3 was a PS2 game.
Oh.
4 is a PS3 game.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that sounds like the Black Baron area where there is flying stuff.
Let me look real quick, guys. I'm sure I could find it in a second or two. But yeah, it just bothers me every time I think about it because I played through it.
Yeah, it's the Black Baron area from Sly Cooper 3.
Yeah, it's whatever this is.
Yeah.
Is that no? No, that's not it either. Okay, I'm not gonna.
You suck at YouTube search. I mean, it's YouTube.
Yeah,
Google
you
searching.
suck at talking, sir.
I do. All right. Well, time to go into the topic of the show. Man, this episode's felt so weird. Going back to this styles has been a
It's
while.
not 3.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay.
That's the Black Baron.
I remember for some reason. Baron, because it's a jet. I remember.
Well, the
for
Black
some reason
Baron's the enemy. For
enemy.
that area,
Yeah, I know. But I remember it being night for some reason.
All right. So let's see, Mr. Oh, what the hell did I just do?
I don't know.
I zoomed out. I don't like it.
I did that somehow too. I don't know what touchpad is like. What the hot key is for that.
Who knows? Let's see. So, like we said with Richard Rivero, he wants to know what we think about the generation and how it would be different with what happened with the PS4 coming out and saying everything right and the Xbox coming out and saying everything wrong. That's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah.
Now, going back, I've actually thought about this in the past. That's why I like the question so much, because it made me think about it again. One of the things I really liked about it, about thinking about the question, is that let's just go back. Let's say exactly what he's talking about. Xbox One came out, got announced. There was games at the announcement. They said, oh, hey, we're $400. DRM is not going to be a big deal for us. They don't even talk about DRM. They don't talk about whether or not they can play used games or whatever, which is tied into DRM technically. They just come out and go, we're going to be a games machine. We have games at our launch. I think we would have seen. Saul, what are you doing?
I know he's thinking about itself. I don't know how I'm zooming in like this. Okay, I think I figured it out. It's the pinch to zoom thing.
I guess. Just hit reset.
No, there we go.
Anyway.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. For that brief interruption, my computer did something very weird. It's still not going back to 100%, but
get a new computer, Saul.
Just restored this one.
Oh, well. Let's see. So, I mean, let's just say Xbox came out and said everything right, like I was saying. I think you'd see the start of the generation be very similar because the start of the generation was pretty neck and neck.
Right.
They both hit 1 million sales in the first day of being able to be purchased.
Both had like their big, pretty exclusives that weren't necessarily
And in a lot of ways, technically,
like,
Xbox had more exclusives. That was a thing. They had more number of exclusives at launch.
Yeah, but the quality of them, though.
I mean, yeah.
Because you had Rise and then you had Sunset Overdrive.
But you also, Sunset Overdrive wasn't launched, but it was close.
I thought it
was.
Had
Dead Rising 3. Was that right? And something
those games
else.
have become a joke.
I can't remember what the other one was. But anyway, they said that in the release window there was more. And that's one thing that's true. PlayStation 4 did have, for this generation, a rocky start on getting caught up on releasing games often and not delaying them. But it's funny because we're seeing that now. You had Killzone and Knack. Those are the two exclusives. Again.
Yeah.
And again, there's the argument that Knack was awful and that Killzone wasn't all that great. So even if Killzone was just okay and Knack was awful, that's one good exclusive, one bad one. Knack was fun for me. I loved it as exclusive, and I thought Killzone was amazing. So I'm not going to say much about that as far as exclusives go, but I think that you would have seen a more neck-and-neck race instead of this domination that you've seen PS4 have.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that changes anything about the PS4. I think the PS4 in the long run, I think some of the decisions may have been like Xbox is screwing up, let's capitalize, or they may have been decisions they already had made, but they were like, now we can spin them as us being like, now that they've flopped this so hard, we can reinforce these and be like, this is why we're going to be great. I think that, again, you'd see a similar system setup. I do think that. I don't think that you'd see a lot of weird, I don't think that you'd see PlayStation 4 under the Xbox necessarily. I think that they'd be very neck and neck like you saw.
I think it would be too, yeah.
Late PS3, Xbox 360 gen. Now, what I think may be interesting is that because of that, PlayStation may have pulled out more stops and tried finding ways to do stuff. PS4 Pro, since both consoles did have the idea of an iterative console somewhere along the line, as we see now with the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. Even though Microsoft wanted to act like the Xbox One X was a complete generational jump, but it's not. It is very much the same to the Xbox One as the PS4 Pro is to the PS4, even though it's much more powerful.
Right. They just kind of played their cards early.
Yeah,
early, to an extent.
they played their cards wrong. They basically lied about what the system was going to be, and at least I feel like they did with everything that was marketed. They tried pushing it like it was going to be this crazy power jump, but it is ultimately not a 4K game machine. Most games still do not play at native 4K. And a lot of games still use the upscaling. So whatever you want to, or the checkerboarding, whatever, if I'm not mistaken. And that could be something I am wrong on. I'm not really very well versed in Xbox One X.
Yeah.
But World In will let us know.
He sure will. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to be wrong no matter what. So World In, you have to correct me. I'm just not going to say nothing.
Correct me if you want, because I'm sure you know more about it than I do. I just don't care much about the X because, like we said, games are still an issue. So where I'm going into this is that while you would have seen a normal situation, I think PlayStation 4 still would have come just as strong these past couple of years with games, hitting it just the right way. And I think you'd see the same thing that Xbox has been suffering from for at least the last 2 years, which is no games. Last year, name me one high-profile exclusive that they released. There is one, and I can't think of another one. Now, again, this is off the top of my head, but there is one. But tell me, what is even name it?
Recore or whatever it was called?
Nope, that's not what I was talking about. Recore was a 2016 game.
You're talking about 2017.
Yeah,
I got to use this new year.
2017 calendar year. What did they come out with that was a good exclusive?
An exclusive?
Yeah. Name one exclusive for the console.
I don't know, like.
And I know
Solitaire Pro.
we don't play on that side of the thing, but you still know high profile exclusives when you see them.
Was it Gears? No, Gears was 2016 too.
Gears, it was Halo Wars.
Oh wow!
And that's it. I'm fairly positive if we looked right now with Xbox One exclusives last year, that's it. They didn't even have any of the games. Like, normally they have stuff that they release in the fall alongside all the other big games. For some reason, they do it. It works for them. That's great. But I always say it's weird that they're not doing that. Yeah, that's not even right.
Yeah, I was like, Crackdown 2 or 3.
Crackdown 3 doesn't even have a release date. State of Decay 2 was pushed back.
They did get PUBG, which is not an exclusive in any means. But
yeah, and I do mean first party. But let's give it to them. Let's say, okay, that's 2. All right, compared to the PlayStation's however many. What do you want to say? Since we're including third-party exclusivity deals, we're going to include Neo. Sure, whatever.
Horizon.
We'll do Horizon's first
Nier
party.
Wouldn't really count.
Nier's going to count, same as Neo, because it came to computer, but it's the same as PUBG.
Did
in
Neo
that sense.
go to computer?
Yep. After it started as a PS4.
Okay. Well, I guess we're comparing console exclusives. Yeah. Neo, Nier, Persona. What was the other one? Horizon. That's 4 off the top of my head.
Gravity Rush 2.
Gravity Rush 2. Forgot about that game.
Yep. Uncharted Lost Legacy. Crash Bandicoot. Insane
Crash
Trilogy. And that's barely even scratching the surface, man. There's more.
Yeah, there is. What did I just get at GameStop?
But that's what I mean. That's exactly what you're dealing with. So we just named off the top of our head 7 high-profile exclusives that did really well for PS4.
Yeah,
and Xbox had, let's just say, 2.
Yeah, I'll give.
All right. 3. So, and what do we see on the horizon for Xbox? Nothing. So they released Xbox One X without any big games. Without any games in the near future that we know of that are going to actually be releasing anytime soon, and not really a big slew of big games since 2016. So you still fall in the same situation. It doesn't matter how good, how impressive the Xbox One X is, or even if the Xbox One didn't have all the weird stuff that they first announced and have since shed, obviously.
Right.
Even if they would have been perfect from the start, there's very little that can convince me that they would have had a different setup with the way that they had games scheduled out.
Yeah.
See, Scalebound probably should have been a 2017 game. That didn't happen.
That game should have been canceled at all.
Yeah.
That was the one Xbox game I was actually legitimately excited for.
Same. And what's funny is it was supposed to be for the Xbox what Nier was going to be for PS4. It was going to be what Nier Automata was going to be for PS4. It was going to be PC and Xbox, whereas Nier was going to be PlayStation and PC.
Yeah, and that's just really sad because another thing to take into consideration is that there are people like me that did jump ship because of how my Xbox was, and I wonder.
Yeah, but you still bought one well after they announced it because you didn't get it at launch.
What?
Xbox One?
Oh, no, yeah, no.
So you still got one and you still played it, but you ran into the same problem, right?
Yeah, I played it with you guys.
You ran into the issue of not even having games to play back when you owned one. Before you even had a PS4, you didn't have much to play.
I had to go out of my way to get exclusives for Xbox to play it. I mean, not exclusives, multiplats. I had to go out of my way and get Shadow of Mordor. I was just like, might as well put this to use. And even when I had it recently, when I had the Xbox One S, because I've actually bought the Xbox One twice now, I had Skyrim multi-platform because of the mods, and then I had Forza Horizon 2 or 3, whatever the newest Forza Horizon game is.
I think it was 3, yeah.
Oh, that was actually a 2017 game.
Well, yeah, sorry,
one,
I don't
yeah.
count Forza.
Yeah,
but I'll give it to him.
I forgot about it until
because
now.
if you talk about, I left GT out too, but Forza's annualized. I have a hard time wanting to put annualized.
Yeah, it is.
Because I mean, if we're gonna go back to that, then PlayStation had Everybody's Golf, technically Hellblade. If you want to go that way, they had
I forgot about Hellblade
Knack 2. So again,
yeah,
the odds are still in PlayStation's
way against
favor.
the favor.
Yeah,
so yeah.
But you're all right. Forza is one. I never think about annual games like that. Because
Well, no, and it still had me go out of my way because I had that and a couple other games on my Xbox, but I kind of got a hankering to try out Fallout 4 again because I can't just be missing how bad that game really is or how good the game is. Like, the game there's no way that Fallout could be that bad. Like, I got to go back and revisit it to confirm, but I almost got it on Xbox
The Witcher
because
3
of the mod.
begs otherwise.
The what?
So The Witcher 3 begs otherwise.
Maybe when I get a PC.
It's bad by comparison.
I'll say maybe when I get a PC, I can really check out The Witcher 3 in its glory, but not probably going to do that again. Unless it goes on sale like a Steam sale.
I don't know.
Because I'll be able to hit that game.
That's
Ultra.
interesting, but I
Be
mean,
pretty.
I don't. Again, that's really where I stand on this.
No, it is. Yeah,
everything would be
sensical.
everything would have been more neck and neck. I don't think that Xbox would be as far under as it is, even though Xbox is by no means doing bad. That's a very important thing to say. What you may actually see is you may have seen both consoles sitting around 60,000 or 60 million instead of what's PlayStation right now? 77 million. For PS4
million.
78. I
Something
think
like that.
I could be completely wrong. Maybe 67. I can't remember right now. It's been a little while since I've looked at it, but
I do know that
it
the
tops
Switch.
it topped 70 million in December 7th is when they announced
That's
it.
right. That's right.
So in December, it topped 70 million over the Black Friday weekend.
Switch is like dominating, dude. Like Switch is going to outside Xbox One really soon. Like,
not soon, man. Xbox One's still at like
I
40 million.
guarantee you, this at the end of this year, they're going to be up to 30 million at least for Switches. Guaranteed.
That's what they want.
That's
They
projected.
plan on selling
That's
20 million.
Trifold, yeah. Of what they currently have sold, and they've sold 10 million as of now, something like that.
Yeah, they sold 10 million.
Yeah, so yeah, if they get up to 40 million, dude, they're gonna be and especially when games like Metroid, Smash, Pokemon, all these games start coming out for it, the people who have been holding off are finally gonna get one, or when they make the inevitable handheld only Switch or something, that would be super cool, or Switch Mini, which would still be super cool.
Sure.
I'll buy one
Back
of those.
in August, Xbox One was estimated to be around 33 million.
Oh yeah, dude, I guarantee you. The Switch
Again,
is
estimated
gonna
though, because they never say.
Yeah, I know.
See, they're doing
Switch
exactly
is gonna
what
eclipse that. I guarantee you by the end of this year, Switch will eclipse it.
We'll
At
see.
least that number, maybe
We'll
not
see.
the total sales, but that specific number.
Sure.
Because there's just, I mean, anything that you can get on the Switch is just so much more fun on the Switch itself than like it's much more of a better value. That's when somebody was telling me that the best value of gaming ever in this current generation is a PC game or a gaming PC, a Switch, and a PS4. You get the best of every world mixed in.
But like you say all the time, people can't afford that. So
that's very true. That's a $2,000 plus bundle, and depending on what you want.
yeah, so I mean, I don't know. You know where I stand on Switch. I think it's a great piece of tech that is
I think it's a great piece of tech to have for the future.
very
for
underused
for
right
most
now.
people.
There's not
and
a lot of
then,
games.
See,
that-
as a Switch enthusiast, there's
you can have Xenoblade back, by the way. I'm not playing it.
I'm probably going to trade it in. It was good for like the first. No, that's the Final Fantasy 13 syndrome that people hate. It's good for like 30 hours and it opens up. It's like, look, you get to play it for 30 hours to get it to open up. I liked Final Fantasy 13, by the way. I thought Final Fantasy 13 was a good game. I did not mind the linearity of that game.
And that means you still need to play 15 so you can understand why everybody likes it.
I mean, that game's just empty. I'd rather it be linear than empty to me. But, you know, different blokes, different strokes.
I don't know, man. It's hard to think about what would really happen, but I think that's the best way for me to word it, is that we'd still be in a similar situation.
I think it would be neck and neck for the most part. And then I think PS4 would still be leading.
Because of the amount of games they've had.
that
If they weren't leading before, they would be leading after this year.
I think
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and with PUBG coming out, I think that could have definitely increased, because it did increase Xbox sales for a while there, not too long. But
and Xbox One X did very well over the Black Friday weekend as well.
And I think that would not tie them up, but it would inch them a little closer than what they currently are, because they are currently, doubled PS4 or double halved the sales of the PS4. I don't know why I can't speak tonight.
Well, okay. Well, while that was kind of the main topic, and we went over as much of that as I feel like is really able to be said. I mean, yeah, there could be a little bit of differences, and there may be a little bit more on it, but as much as I've stewed on it, I fear talking in circles over something. One thing I wanted to mention is that on the Discord chat, World End was talking about, I can't remember the name of the site he was saying for some reason. But he was talking about people who are talking poorly or talking down on God of War. Now,
Which
some
is
of
nuts.
that comes from the light of the new interviews where they talked about like supposed lack of a jump button, dedicated jump button, so there won't be a jump. Which again, I get why there's a reason to say something about it. I mean, I get why there's like, oh man, there's no jumping. That's kind of crazy and kind of odd. But there's a lot of people who are apparently very, very hard on the game. And it is a weird situation because where I kind of was leading to with this conversation is when you reboot a game, you have to write a fine. It's not even that you have to. Fans expect a somewhat fine line of what I'm going to call between doing something new with the franchise where a reboot seemed like it was worth it. Be it a really weird change in story, or if it's going to be a weird like mechanical change like you're seeing with both of those things are true in God of War. So God of War is changing a bunch. But one of the things that World In was saying is like, what do people expect for the game to be exactly like the last games? Why even reboot it? And that's true. I get that.
That's sensible. Yeah.
It's sensible. But where God of War has to lie is that there's going to be people who love the original games and will love the way they played, love the storyline of them and everything. And this is going to be such a big shakeup that they're not going to like it. But again, you wonder how much, because as much as people want to talk about Kratos being a bland character, which I don't agree with in the slightest, but as much as people want to say that, this is giving them more. This is giving them a more layered out Kratos, and one that's been literally thought out to be, okay, what do we do? How do we make Kratos a more complex character? Because that's obviously a complaint we've gotten, and a big enough complaint to at least want to try and go over it. So that was something.
They gave him a son. Like, you gave him an emotional human being to be attached to that you could actually.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to assume it's a side-by-side companion for most of the game.
Yeah.
All of it.
Pretty much what Ellie was to Joel.
Yeah.
Is a good way of
Well, God of War's never had a companion like that. That's what I'm thinking of. Like,
it has. And God of War's not been over the shoulder. It's still very combat oriented, and it's not. I don't want to say arcadey combat like you saw with the last games, but they're going for this still very visceral, fun, weighty style of combat. Which it's weird because like when I say arcadey, it was very fast, but there was still some weight.
Yeah,
with God of War.
I actually forgot I have that.
You have God of War 3?
3. I played it too. I'm on the hardest difficulty, and I beat Poseidon, and then I got to the next area.
That Poseidon fight is awesome.
I didn't realize that it does the Metroid thing where it takes all your stats away. Makes sense why it does.
Every God of War game does.
Did the first one didn't do that, did it?
Well, the first one didn't. The first one you don't have any powers.
Well, yeah,
but every game following has done something to make a reason why you don't have you're not as strong as you once were. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot to be said about rebooting a game and being careful not being careful, because I guess I applaud God of War for being ballsy enough to change this much in a franchise that is so loved. Now, a couple of interesting things. Apparently, pre-orders are not as high for God of War as they were hoping, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because that either tells you that it's such a big change that people don't feel like that it's guaranteed to be good. I think that there's something to be said about the fact that Ascension was a little bit of a burn for a lot of people, even though I still think it was a good game. It's just easily the weakest God of War game.
Was Ascension the one that like Adam Sessler went in on and did the whole Bros Before Hoes trophy thing, or was that 3?
I don't know. I don't like Adam Sessler.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't because of a specific review too, and I couldn't remember what.
I just generally don't care for much of his attitude. But man, Saul, you threw me off my train of thought.
Sorry about that. You're talking about.
Ascension. Yeah, it could be the fact that Ascension was such a downer, and that was like people were worried because the last time that we saw a game from the franchise that wasn't that great. That could definitely be something. There could also be something about it could be that they're seeing things that they aren't liking, and that's keeping them off, or because they want to wait until they see the game come out. It could be any number of things that's keeping people from pre-ordering it. And pre-orders are also, I would imagine, down because people are feeling burnt by games that's pre-ordering right now anyway. A lot of games they pre-order come out and they don't do very well. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, it's a Bros Before Hoes trophy for God of War Ascension. He got a lot of hate over that because he said that there's a lot of misogyny and stuff. Misogyny. What is wrong with me today? I give up on talking. I'm done talking for the rest of the episode. Oh, man.
Anyway, going back to the final bit of what I was talking about, God of War stands on a weird side right now, and I do hope to see it go well, because when you see Corey talk about the game, it's obvious he's passionate about it, and I feel like it's, when you're seeing everything and even the little bits of things where you see developers talking about it, it seems like the team is very passionate about it, and they're excited about it, and I'm excited to see a franchise change this much to the point where you're almost like, damn,
it's a different game.
Yeah, it's like, but it's still managing to keep some glimmer of what you know about the franchise. This is a big jump. I can't think of a series that's so story driven that has changed this much with a reboot, but it's not even technically a reboot because it is still canonically separate. Like, this does happen after the events of...
Is it a different, like, universe?
Oh, it's still the same Kratos, and
no, I know that.
There's a difference between the Greek world and in this world, apparently.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, they're separate.
Okay,
they're separate worlds.
I'm curious.
He talked about there was 101 or something like that questions or whatever that were like snap answer questions, and that was one of the things. Is like, is the Greek pantheon specifically split from the other pantheon? He said, yeah.
Okay.
So, but like I say, every time Corey talks about the game, it's obvious he cares about the series a lot. It's obviously he cares about this game a lot, and that he feels like it's going to be a better game than any of the rest. Now, who knows? And I do love God of War, and this could just be a step in the wrong direction. I hope not. I doubt it is. But either way, I think it's something that's cool to look at and see. And if it is an example of a franchise being changed this much with what they're calling a soft reboot, I think is what they kind of went around with it, because it's like it's a reboot, but it's still it's not making the previous canon no longer there. I think that this game has the chance to be really good, and everything they've shown on it so far looks amazing. I'm excited. But it's an interesting situation for them to be in, because you can tell that they are getting a little bit of flack, even from how joking Corey's being about things. Like when he's like, oh, did I say 35? Did I say 25 to 30% in the boat? I mean 80 to 90%.
Yeah.
Boat of war.
Oh my God, that was so hilarious.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's really funny. He's a funny guy anyway, but I think there's a lot to be said about where his mindset is on it. And I'm sure he's probably the most excited, but also probably the most scared of how fans are going to react. But I think he's obviously proud of what he feels like he's come up with and what his team has created around him, and I'm excited for that. So, as well as a lot of people that we've talked to, a lot of our listeners are very excited about it as well. So, anything you want to talk about left over?
No, I think that was pretty good. Like, I pretty much agree with God of War. Like, if you're gonna overhaul a series, might as well do it completely different. And like, if you're gonna do it in not so much completely, but in the realm of difference, that there's still a string of familiarity in the game.
Yeah, and I think that maybe the closest I've really seen of that in a franchise is, I guess you could say it was Zelda and Mario. So Nintendo are the people who managed to do that. But again, the games aren't as story driven as God of War has been in a grander scheme. They all have stories, but they're like very passive stories, which some people would say that God of War story is passive. I don't agree that it is. But I do think that like Mario Galaxy is obviously a big change. Mario 64 is a big change. It's like they're changing in a lot of ways, but I think that happens when franchises are around that long. I think that we're inevitably going to see Halo 6 be something, or maybe not Halo 6, but I think we're inevitably going to see Halo be something different.
Yeah, I was going to say Halo being a piece of hot garbage.
That's what 5 was?
That's what all 5, yeah.
I agree with that, actually.
Nathan Fillion, how could you? Then again, your voice is in Destiny 2, and that's also a piece of hot garbage, so... Alrighty, guys. Well, this has been episode 41 of Triangle Squared. You guys know where to find us. YouTube.com/NarTechGaming and Twitter /TriangleSQRD. We always have...
Look at you, Saul. You can go for it, man. Run it through.
Go for it. All the info in the description of the video where to follow us at. Our pinned tweet is our Discord. Come and join that so you can chat with your boys. And
and add if you want to ever play games with us, we don't play it all the time. We do have weird schedules, and I do like to play a lot of single player games. But we had our boss Richard actually have somebody ask us recently if they could add us. Y'all can add us anytime you want.
Yeah,
anytime y'all see us on, just add us. Yeah, he added me as well.
So,
and if you want to play games with us, we do plan. That's one of the things I want to do this year is try and figure out ways that we can do like community play-alongs a little more often and find games that are good fits for it. But that is something I want to work on. And
if you guys ever... Like, if you ever add us on PS4 and you ever see us in a party, just jump on in. Like, depending on who's all in there, like, 9 times out of 10, we're playing with other people who enjoy us. Like, and we, like, it's not even so much of, like, a fan thing. It's more like, hey, we're all hanging out, friends together, playing games.
Yep.
Which is what we
Which
want
is the most fun part of it. Yep. I really have enjoyed that. Because it's just like hopping on playing with like Ryan and John, who I just met John at PSX. He is.
Yeah, I haven't met him at all, but as far as.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I'm saying. At this point, they're friends more than anything. So I love that part. But yeah, this has been episode 41. We will see you next week, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.